Hi, I'm Amy and welcome to my channel. I'm a manifestation and relationship mentor, and this channel is all about merging spirituality and psychology so you can manifest a relationship. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how to occupy and embody a brand new state of being when you don't know what that state is. So stick around to the end of the video. I will give you all of my hints and tips. In the meantime, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to this channel and leaving this video a like so that other people have access to it. So let's dive in. So I often get asked how to A, change a state, and B, change into a state that you don't know how that state feels. And I'd struggled with this because I was sort of the old school thinking where I can just imagine and affirm and it would magically happen. And, you know, it did, but it wasn't permanent. I'd sort of flip flop into one state and then move back. And this was because I wasn't actually embodying the state. I wasn't being the person who I wanted to be. And I'm going to use for this video an example of the state of security. And security was a completely foreign concept to me. I would try and convince myself that I was secure, but I really wasn't. I was constantly afraid of being left. I was constantly afraid of upsetting the other person because then they'll leave me. I had so much armor up sometimes that I couldn't let anyone close to me. I was perhaps as insecure as they came. So the idea of becoming secure, although I loved that idea, I'd got no inkling whatsoever of what a secure person was. I didn't know how secure people acted. I didn't know how secure people thought because I'd never been secure. And because I'd never been secure, I was around a bunch of people who weren't secure as well. So the idea of being a secure person was a massive learning curve for me. I didn't know anything about attachment styles at the time either, and I just thought, well, this is normal. But it wasn't. Actually, life was very complicated being an insecure person, especially when I was trying to navigate relationships. So what did I do? Well, number one, I researched attachment styles. I researched what my attachment style was and what my core wounds were and why I was so insecure in the first place. And to do this, I had to really dive into my inner child and do a lot of shadow work around my insecurities. Where did my relationship insecurities start? And most often the key is in childhood, because we model our relationships depending on the relationship we had with our parents. For example, you know, if we had an absent parent, either physically or emotionally, that can have a massive impact on our ability to navigate relationships when we're older, and can make us quite nervous and anxious in relationships and feel like we're going to get left. So I had to really dive into that and heal a lot of those core wounds and core beliefs that I had. And I have got a video on anxious attachment and secure attachment, which I will link in the description box below. So on my journey to move towards secure, I had to then really consider what I thought a secure person was. How would a secure person feel? Because to actually embody that, it isn't just thinking like a secure person. It's actually feeling and being and behaving as a secure person would think, believe, and behave. And because I hadn't had that modeled to me, I was completely oblivious that there was this other state, this other attachment style that I could occupy and become that secure and confident person. So I had to really research the differences between anxious and secure. And I learned that, okay, well, secure people don't sort of make stories up about themselves if something goes wrong. I would do that so many times. If somebody even looked at me the wrong way, I would make it my fault. And secure people don't do that. So I had to really identify what patterns I had, what behavior patterns I had as an insecurely attached person, so that I could release those. And I'm not saying that this was an easy process. It did take quite a few weeks and months. It wasn't something that I managed to change overnight, because it was so deep within my subconscious, and I was so heavily identified with being an anxious attached person that, you know, I couldn't just switch. I had, you know, things on autopilot that I was still doing. I would still, you know, think about, oh, have I upset that person? Or I would still be afraid to rock the boat. I would still be anxiously looking at the phone. and I didn't have a lot else going on, I would hyper focus on the relationship because it was so important to me. And you know, I believed that this person was meeting all of my needs, and without them I wouldn't have my needs met. Which brings me on to my second point of, you know, a secure person knows how to meet their own needs. And this was a real challenge for me because all through my life I had handed and outsourced the responsibility of my needs being met on to other people. And for me to actually start to meet my own needs was a completely foreign concept. I didn't know how to. I didn't really know myself well enough to be able to meet those needs. So I had to really think about what my needs were in the relationship. What needs was I missing right now without the relationship, so that I could learn how to give those things to myself. How do I make sure that I feel seen, heard, and understood, for example? And the answer to that was journaling. I could fill that need through journaling every day. And this is how I sort of move the needle every day to being secure and embodying a new state. As I say, it's becoming that person. It's becoming your identity. It's not something that you think. It's not something that you just believe. You have to be that person. You have to wake up as that person and, you know, ask yourself moment by moment, okay, how does a secure person do this? How would a secure person handle this situation? How would a secure person handle no contact, for example? Would they sit next to the phone staring at it, or would they just put the phone away and do something else? And this is what I had to really practice doing. And as I say, it wasn't easy, but I'm glad I did it, because now I am identified as a secure and confident person. I don't take things seriously. It's incredibly hard to piss me off, for example. And that just wasn't me. I was so easily activated that it was untrue. But now I'm a lot calmer. I'm a lot more confident. I'm a lot more secure within. And I know that I can fulfill that need for security, because security is what I am. So I trust myself more. I did not trust myself before. I didn't set boundaries, for example. I didn't speak up if there was something I wasn't happy about or someone who had upset me. I wouldn't do that because I was so afraid of rocking the boat and then they'd leave me. So moving and embodying security meant that all of those things had to go. Everything in me that was part of that insecure attachment, that insecure state, had to go, because it doesn't belong in the state of security. And you can do this with any state. For example, if you want to identify with a person who is worthy, you're going to have to work through and release all of the parts of you that aren't on board with your worthiness. You might be afraid of feeling worthy because then people might have expectations of you. And it's all of these subtleties that come up. And, you know, how do you act as an unworthy person from on the day-to-day? How can you stop doing that? Research how a worthy person shows up. And if you can't, you know, think of somebody that comes across as being a worthy person. You know, think of a celebrity, for example. How do you imagine they go through their day? How do you imagine they deal with certain situations? And it's about connecting with that every day. You're connecting with that moment to moment to moment. So when you have these insecure moments, it's about thinking, okay, what's coming up for me right now? Why do I feel this way? Dealing with it, and then connecting back to, okay, how does a secure person show up? How does a secure person even see these thoughts and feelings that I'm having? Do they see them as the truth? And you can do the same with your trauma. When that comes up, a memory might come up, a painful memory. How does a secure person view your trauma? Do they push it away? No, they don't. They accept it as part of themselves and integrate it. They certainly wouldn't shame themselves for it. But what they would do is see it differently, and they would stop making that trauma mean something about them that isn't desirable. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions at all, drop them in the comment box below, and I shall see you in the next video.